This is Global Currency Insight, and today's focus is on a subject that has sparked fresh waves of conversation across the currency community. The buzz centers on the Iraqi dinar and new discussions about whether a long-awaited revaluation could be closer than many think. What makes this moment different is that the phrase Tier 4B appointments is being talked about more than ever before. For those who have followed the story for years, that phrase may sound familiar, but it continues to raise questions. What exactly does Tier 4B mean? How could it connect to the revaluation process? And what would it look like if everyday currency holders were suddenly called to schedule official appointments? These questions are fueling speculation, stirring excitement, and creating an atmosphere that many describe as unlike anything seen before. For years, conversations around the dinar have appeared in cycles, often tied to rumors of a revaluation, also known as an RV. Each time, anticipation rises only to be tempered by reminders that nothing has been confirmed. Despite this, the community continues to watch closely, listening for signals that the process might finally be moving forward. What feels different now is the level of certainty that some voices are using. The words "this week" are being repeated with unusual confidence, and that in itself is enough to capture attention. Whether or not the timing proves accurate, the renewed focus on Tier 4B makes this moment worth examining in greater depth. To understand Tier 4B, it helps to look at the broader structure many believe is in place for how an RV would roll out. The idea is that exchanges would not happen all at once, but in a series of stages often described as tiers. Tier 1 is thought to cover governments and major institutions. Tier 2 generally refers to sovereign entities and large financial groups. Tier 3 might involve select contracts or organized groups. Tier 4 is where ordinary individual holders are believed to come in. Within that, Tier 4A would consist of structured groups who are already organized, while Tier 4B is said to represent individual holders, the everyday people who have held on to currencies like the dinar or dong while waiting for the process to begin. When people talk about Tier 4B appointments, the suggestion is that everyday holders may not simply walk into a bank branch to exchange. Instead, they could be required to book an official appointment at a designated time and place, possibly at specialized redemption centers. The logic behind this idea is organization. By scheduling people into specific slots, authorities could manage the flow, avoid long lines, and ensure that exchanges happen in a secure and orderly environment. This would mean that the process is not random or chaotic, but carefully structured to keep everything under control. Imagining this in practice raises important questions. If you are a currency holder at home and suddenly receive a secure email message or link inviting you to set an appointment, what happens next? You may be directed to a particular location, possibly a center set up for these exchanges and assigned a specific time. At that moment, the theory is that you would finally move from speculation into participation. This concept excites many in the community because it creates a sense of real structure, but it also makes others cautious since so much remains uncertain. The process itself is often described as involving several key steps. First, you would need to prove your identity, showing proper identification at the appointment. Second, your currency would need to be authenticated, counted, and verified to ensure that it is genuine. Third, you might be presented with options such as different rates or agreements depending on what type of exchange path you choose. Finally, the funds would be deposited into your account, although in some scenarios there could be conditions, restrictions, or timeframes linked to how you access them. Each of these steps is part of why preparation is emphasized so heavily in community discussions. The emphasis on preparation is not just about paperwork or currency, it is also about mindset. People often point out that sudden access to significant wealth can be overwhelming. Without a plan, there is the risk of making quick choices that could lead to regret later. That is why so much of the discussion around Tier 4B appointments includes reminders to have currency organized, documents ready, and a clear idea of next steps. Even though no one knows for sure what the actual process will involve, the idea is that being prepared reduces uncertainty when the call finally comes. One of the major reasons this subject is attracting such close attention now is timing. If this week truly does mark the start of something significant, then the very first Tier 4B appointments could quietly be scheduled before the broader public even realizes what is happening. That possibility creates urgency. Holders do not want to feel left behind or miss a window of opportunity. Each rumor, message, or whisper is analyzed in detail, adding to the sense that the community is on high alert for the slightest sign of movement. Stepping back to view the bigger picture, the very fact that Tier 4B is being discussed in such detail suggests a level of structure and planning that has not always been visible in the past. Many interpret this as evidence that preparation is complete and readiness is close. While no one can confirm when or how events will unfold, the sheer depth of current conversations shows that belief in the process is at one of its highest points. For many, this moment feels like a shift from someday into soon. At the same time, skepticism remains a strong part of the narrative. Many point out that over the years, countless timelines have been announced and have come and gone without result. Those voices caution against getting carried away until there is undeniable proof. They emphasize the need to stay grounded, reminding everyone that until someone actually sits in an appointment and completes an exchange, Everything else is still speculation. This balanced perspective helps keep expectations realistic even while excitement builds. To visualize the potential impact, consider what it would feel like if Tier 4B appointments were truly activated. Imagine driving to a designated center with your currency in hand, feeling the weight of years of waiting. You arrive, check in, and sit down across from a representative who confirms the details of the exchange. That single moment, after years of preparation, speculation, and hope, would mark a turning point not just for individuals but for the community as a whole. Recently, another layer of conversation has emerged that ties directly into the future of the dinar. Reports are circulating that documents connected to a redenomination project may have surfaced in the press. Redenomination is different from revaluation. It typically refers to adjusting the structure of the currency, such as removing zeros, issuing new notes, or simplifying how money is used in daily transactions. While redenomination does not necessarily mean a massive jump in value, it does indicate a step toward modernization and greater stability in Iraq's financial system. The idea that internal documents might be circulating adds a new level of intrigue. The reported contents include possible timelines, new note designs, and staged plans for introducing them to the public. None of this has been officially confirmed, but even the suggestion that such detailed plans exist is enough to spark widespread speculation. If true, it would indicate that decisions are already being shaped behind the scenes and that Iraq is preparing for a major shift in how its currency functions. For ordinary citizens, redenomination could mean smaller notes that are easier to use, replacing bulky stacks of cash filled with zeros. This kind of change could help restore trust in the currency and show that the central bank is serious about reform. On an international scale, it could demonstrate Iraq's readiness to align with global financial standards, making it easier for foreign investors and partners to engage with the country's economy. Such steps would not only affect the currency's image but also its practical use in everyday life. Even if these reported leaks do not tell the full story, the fact that they are being discussed so widely is significant. It shows that Iraq's path to currency reform is an active subject, not just a distant idea. Whether redenomination happens in the near future or takes longer, the renewed attention underscores just how close many believe Iraq may be to turning the page. For holders of the dinar, this creates yet another reason to stay alert, as changes in structure could eventually connect to broader conversations about value. Bringing it back to the main discussion, Tier 4B appointments remain one of the most anticipated developments in the entire revaluation story. The idea that ordinary holders could be called in, scheduled, and guided through an organized process is what many have been waiting to see for years. Whether the moment arrives this week, next month, or further into the future, the simple fact that it is being explained in such detail suggests that planning is in motion. And if that planning becomes reality, it would mark the first time that everyday holders transition from speculation into action, stepping into a chapter that has been imagined for more than a decade.